Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So as you might know, this is a budget channel. I like to limit the prices of the cards that I work with. I like to build decks that are effective and efficient, that aren't going to break your bank. Except for the times that I do build decks that are specifically for breaking the bank, but those are different. Regardless, on this episode, I decided to challenge myself with a very limited budget. So with that, let's jump into it. And I decided to build a deck for, well, I think I'm putting in the description $2, but actually, as I'm looking at it right now, the Mox Field estimate for this deck is just $1.38 in total. Keep in mind that doesn't include the cost of shipping or basic lands, but you might already have those, or you can buy them in bulk or borrow some friends, or your LGS. Regardless, incredibly budget friendly no matter what, essentially. Rocco Cabaretti Caterer, that's right, budget catering, which, I mean, maybe you want to go do that, but sometimes, you maybe you don't know where the food's coming from. Regardless, Rocco Cabaretti Caterer, a 3/1 Elf Druid for X and Naya colors. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if you cast it, you may search your life for a creature card, mana value X or less on the battlefield, then shuffle. So this is basically a creature tutor in the command zone, which is crazy cool. So you can build your deck around, well, very specific things. And kind of with that, when I was going about looking for a commander and kind of a concept for this incredibly budget-friendly deck, again, I was like, okay, like $2 or less, what can I do? A 4-cent commander like this one, again, this version of it, which I think that art is really cool, is just 4 cents. So that's a good start. It's also a commander, again, that has some utility in what direction you can go with it. It's also a commander that opens up a lot of possibilities. Again, even on a budget like this, you really don't get any tutors ever, right? If you're just doing like 1 or 2 cents a card for the most part, you probably don't have any tutors. That being said, the commander is actually the tutor, and that opens up some amazing possibilities. Now, with that being said, before we jump into those possibilities, keep in mind that if you are interested in this incredibly budget-friendly deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's talk about those possibilities. So first up, we're going to be talking about the golden pig of this deck, the #1 card out of our 99, and the engine for this deck, what this deck is built around, and that is Triskelion, which has some really sick art. And actually, speaking of possibilities with that reprint, it finally is down to, well, 11 cents, just 11 cents, which makes up a lot of this budget, nearly 10% of the budget, but still very much worth it. A 1/1 construct that costs 6 mana, enters the battlefield with 3 counters on it, remove a counter from it, 1 damage to any target. This is a card that actually does have combos that can be utilized, and even on a budget like this, even on a $2 less budget, even on the budget of $1.38, yeah, we can do some crazy things with it. And this one, again, you can just say, okay, it comes up with 3 counters. We got 3 options of where to put that damage to. Here's the thing, Rocco, you did a great job making that last meal, right? And getting this Triskelion to play. You're gonna go away. Or we're just going to ping you for 1 damage and you're getting taken out because we need to get you back in the command zone so that we can cast you again and get something else. So let's move on to tactic number 2, the Golden Piglet, because yeah, this is the other half of that crazy combo. We've got Urban Daggertooth, 8 cents again, so very expensive in terms of this budget, but still very, very cheap. A 4/3 Dinosaur Vigilance that costs 4 mana. Enrage, whenever it's dealt damage, proliferate, which is a very cool effect. And essentially, what this means is, well, if we have some way to ensure that this does not die, which we need to make sure we have that, we can get more and more counters on the Triskelion again and again and again. Because again, you take a counter off the Triskelion, you ping this for 1, you enrage, you say, I'm an angry dinosaur, for whatever reason, proliferate. Cool, so then you're like, okay, I'll get another counter on my Triskelion, and whatever else has counters on it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh, okay, do it again and again and again. Obviously, you normally only do that 3 times, right, with this kind of a card, because only 3 toughness. That being said, of course, if you get just 1 +1/+1 counter on this can just keep getting more and more counters on it and survive, obviously, to become infinitely large. Okay, again, rules layers out there. Technically, it's not infinite. You need to pick a number. 1 trillion. Okay, 1 trillion counters on this, and Triskelion is still just stuck with whatever, 1 or 2 counters or whatnot. But it's fine, and all your other creatures that have counters on them are also 1 trillion power. So, yeah, plenty of ways to take your opponents out. Now, to make all this happen, well, first up, we're going to need a lot of mana because we need to get Rocco to go get Triskelion, then Rocco to go get our Daggertooth. If we can do that all in the same turn, that would be amazing. Of course, we are on a limited budget, so we might not be able to pull off in one turn, but definitely in 2 turns. But yeah, maybe you can survive long enough to do it in 1 turn, which could be a really fun, big thing to do, especially again, when you're like, hey, this deck is like less than $2, and your opponents are like, well, that can't be good at all. Oh my goodness, what's happening? Regardless, ramping can really help us get there, of course. We've got an absurd amount of ramp in this deck. Neverwinter Dryad, a 1/1, sacrifice it for 2 mana, go get a forest into play, tap, then shuffle. Coming attracts, and go get a basic into play, tap. I guess open attraction too if you really want to. More importantly though, just ramp. Next up, field trip, go get a basic forest on battlefield, tap, and shuffle, and also learn, which yeah, the rules committee, unfortunately, I don't like that ruling on it. Doesn't let you go get lessons. Boo. That's okay. We can still discard a card to draw a card. So rummage. Moving on, natural connection, instant speed, go get a basic into play, tap. Path to the festival, go get a basic land. Then also you can flash it back and do it again. Then we've got scout the wilderness. You can kick it if you need to, but you don't really need to kick it. Go get that basic land. But yeah, sure, if you want to get some tokens into play, you get 2 if you kicked it as well. Then there's Slimefoot Survey, domain, search library to 2 land cards that base land type for the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. With the top X cards of your library, X number of basic lands among types you control. Put up to 1 of them on top of your library, the rest bottom of your library in random order, so that can be up to 3, obviously, with this kind of a build as well. Next up, though, tactic number 4, land-ish ramp, because, well, we've already, ramped with lands. Now we're going to have our lands ramp further, if that makes any sense. Blightant Burgeoning for 2 and a green, and Aura Enchant Land, enters battlefield, incubate 2. So, yeah, that's right. We are getting a creature into play with 2 counters on it. Or technically not a creature yet, right? It's an artifact that you can pay 2 to transform it into a creature. But again, something in play with counters on it is amazing once we are getting our combo going again. Basically, it's going to be infinitely large. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds 1 additional mana of any color. So again, hey, our land is giving us more mana, and we also get a potentially not infinitely large rules lawyers out there. Okay, again, trillion, whatever, a trillion power for Xan. Next up, Find the Path. This is such a cool card. So enters the battlefield, adventure in the dungeon. So a little bit of extra value there too, which is just lovely because you can just kind of choose your own adventure with that, which is great. But also, Jalen has tap for 2 green, so we can tap for extra mana. Gift of Paradise, gain 3 life. What's not to love about that? Also tap for 2. Grafted Growth. Again, this is one that is actually huge with this kind of a deck. Enters the battlefield, get a counter on a creature or vehicle we control. That land can tap for 2 mana. So essentially, hey, this is one of our ramp spells that's like, you know what? You get a counter. And sometimes that you is going to be the Daggertooth, which again, we need to happen. Moving on, Verdant Haven. Gain 2 life. Give that extra mana as well. So again, the gain life, just a nice little additional padding to help survive until we can get this going. But now let's move on to tack number 5, treasure time with buried treasure. Hey, there you go. Let's make some treasures. Let's actually utilize some treasure effects. This is actually treasure itself. Tap, sacrifice, add 1 mana of any color, pay 5, exile from your graveyard, discover 5, so some additional value out of that too. So some temporary ramp for us and some permanent value as well. Vault Robber, pay 1 tap, exile creature card from your graveyard, create a treasure token. So basically reutilizing our creature cards out of our graveyard and saying, let's get some temporary ramp to help us get there for that big bursty turn 2 win. Then there's Exhibition Magician, enters the battlefield, choose 1, make a 1/1, which again might just be a 1/1, but could become near infinitely large, essentially right at a certain point, or create a treasure token. So yeah, if we need that ramp, we can get that. There's Improvised Weaponry, 2 damage to any target, create a treasure token, so take out something small, or smack your opponent in the face first, just for fun, create a treasure token as well. Jewel-Eyed Cobra, 3/1 Death Touch, so a great blocker, good attacker as well. When it dies, create a treasure token, so again, it replaces itself with some extra mana for you later. Then there's Most Wanted, speaking of replacing yourself, +2/+1 to a creature, flash it on for some surprise. But also when it dies, create 2 treasure tokens, so again, some nice additional temporary ramp for you there too. Then there's Redcap Thief. When it enters the battlefield, you get that treasure token as well, a 2/3. And Glittermonger, a repeatable source of treasures for us. Tap, make a treasure token, so again, a way to get extra, essentially, well, ramp we can utilize whenever we need to. Then there's Grabby Giant, pay 1 and a black, 1 and a red for its adventure that's mine, create a treasure token, 4/3 reach, pay 2 and a red, sacrifice an artifact or land, draw a card. So again, we've got a way to get a treasure, which is fantastic, but also a way to get some extra card advantage when we need it. Now, you might think we're done with ramping, but we're not done quite just yet. Let's move on to tactic number 6, other help, Rust Vine Cultivator. Tap, get an oil counter on it. Tap, remove an oil counter from it. Untap target land. And of course, with our lands again, when we have those enchanted, they're going to be tapping for more than one. And yeah, this can tap for quite a bit. Next up, Civic Gardener. Speaking of that, whenever it attacks, untap target creature or land. There's a Rochi Merge Keeper. Tap for a green, or if it's modified, which again, this deck has so many ways to get counters on things. We'll talk about this here in a bit. It taps for 2. Then there's Root Rider Fun. Taps for a green, or we can also filter mana with it. There's Careful Cultivation. Enchant an artifact or a creature. As long as the enchanted is a creature, it gets +1/+3 reach and it taps for 2. Or we can channel it in a way to make a 1/1 monk that is actually a mana dork that can tap for a green as well. Crow's Restore. This one gets better and better and better as the game goes on. Tap to untap target land, or Threshold, untap 3 lands. And again, keep in mind, when things get pretty crazy, when we get those auras on our lands, this can just produce an absurd amount of mana force. Can really help for that explosive turn that we really want. Just go off in one turn. Next up, Nature's Embrace, enchanted creature or land, +2/+2 if it's a creature. As long as the enchanted permanent is a land, it can tap for 2 mana, so good flexibility there. Rift Sower, great turn 1 play, spend 2 for a single green mana, tap for 1 mana of any color. Take a cut, Turbo Tubes, there we go. Tap for 1 mana of any color, just an inefficient mana rock, but again, hey, at 2 cents, we're not going to complain. Then there's Dawnheart Rejuvenator, gain 3 life when it enters the battlefield, so some nice padding there. Also tap for 1 mana of any color. Kozilek's Predator, ETBs, make 2/0/1 Eldrazi spawn. You can sacrifice for mana as well. And finally, Oasis Ritualist, tap for 1 mana or tap Exert It, make 2 mana. So again, when you need that big bursty turn, you can utilize this in a very effective way. But now let's move on to tactic number 7, Count on Me. And we've got some creatures that can help us get counters on things like, our Daggertooth or themselves or other things. And yeah, again, help either our combo go off or help other things infinitely become large. Or, again, a trillion. Rules lawyers, I know. Backup Agent, ETB, counter on target creature. You're going to see this a lot. Dauntless Survivor, ETB, counter on target creature. Iron Paw Aspirant, ETB, counter on target creature. Iron Shell Beetle, ETB, counter on target creature. Is this getting old yet? Then we've got Timberland Guide. Guess what it does? ETB, counter on target creature. Hanger Scrounger, slightly different. Here we go. Backup. When it enters the battlefield, get a counter on target creature. If that's another creature, gains the following building until the end of the turn. Comes tapped. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. So some nice card selection there as well. Iron Bully, ETB, counter target creature. Also, it has Menace too, which is nice. Kinsbale Courier enters the battlefield, counter target creature. We also have Encore, so we get this out of our graveyard, essentially 3 copies of it, depending on our opponent's situation, and get some more counters on creatures. Then there's Serpent Blade, Aspirant, backup 1, so again, same thing. And also Death Touch, which is lovely. Basri's Acolyte, I should say. Lifelink, ETB, counter to 2 target creatures you control. Jeskai Preserver, ETB, counter target creature, and also we can channel it away instead, discard it to get a counter on up to 2 target creatures you control. Seven Tail Mentor, ETBs or dies, counter target creature or vehicle we control. Next up, we've got tactic number 8, Spell Count, and we've got even more ways to get, guess what, counters on creatures. Light the way, counter a creature, untap it, or bounce a permanent you control back to its source hand. So yeah, actually, Rocco, you don't have to get taken out by the Triskelion. We can actually bounce you back to the hand if we really want to with this. Moving on, Thrive. Put a counter on each of up to X target creatures. This can really help us out, distribute those counters. And again, we just need 1 counter to start on our creatures, and that is all we need to get things going. And basically have, again, near infinite power. Next up, Battlefield Promotion. Counter target creature. Gains first strike till turn. You gain 2 life. Big play. +2/+2 to a creature, and a counter on them as well. Explosive Entry. Destroy an artifact, and also get a counter up to 1 target creature. So that's lovely. Feat of Resistance. Protect something. +1 counter target creature. Gains protection of the color choice till end of turn. This can be absolutely massive in saving something, like maybe our Triskelion or maybe our Daggertooth, or yeah, just we're getting one of our creatures through potentially in combat too. Lead by example. Support 2. So I counter each of up to 2 target creatures. Travel Preparations. Same thing, but we can also flash it back as well. Common Bond, basically same thing, but worded differently. Counter on target creature twice. Then there's Courage in Crisis, counter target creature, and also Proliferate. So a nice little additional fact there. Under City Upheaval, Undergrowth, distribute X counters among any target creature controller. X the number of creature cards in your graveyard as you cast a spell. Our creatures gain Vigilance till end of turn, so that's nice as well. And yeah, that can be a lot of counters distributed. Defend the Celestis, 3 counters on 1, 2, or 3 creatures. So again, probably again going wide with that if we can to be able to get more counters on more creatures. Hunt the Weak, this can be actually pretty effective as well. Counter target creature, then it fights a creature on control. So yeah, we can take out a lot of things with this. Hunter's Edge, speaking of that, counter target creature, then it deals damage equal to its power target creature on control. So this one does not actually include the fighting. That creature is safe that we have, and it's just going to deal its power out. And then also, finally, Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, a counter on all of our creatures until end of turn. Not until end of turn, I should say. Get a counter on each creature you control. They gain Vigilance on turn. There we go. And the Ring tempts you. So So being able to say, hey, yeah, we got a counter on all of our creatures. Let's get that going. Let's get our combo going, get all of the massive. And by the way, they're vigilant, so we can just swing out freely with them. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. Let me know what your thoughts are on this one. Again, I love building these kinds of decks where there's a challenge to it where it's like, hey, okay, I normally build with a small budget anyways, but let's make it minuscule. Let's make it, again, $1.38. So let me know what your thoughts are on this one. I think it's pretty crazy, pretty off the wall. So yeah, if you're interested in it, make sure you check out that Decklist link in the description below. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.